Hello and welcome to the Industry Leaders Podcast. Today's guest is Edmund Marquez. Edmund is a very prominent and influential leader in Tucson, Arizona.
Go do something great. Why would you sit back and not have a great year?
He owns one of the biggest Hispanic-owned Allstate agencies in the country.
Hispanic Business Magazine named me one of the top CEOs, the Latino CEOs in the country, and I was like 26 years old. But I was failing in life. I was failing because I wasn't there for my wife.
Listen to this episode to hear about Edmund's journey building highly successful businesses, from buying car dealerships, gas stations, earning an insane amount of money in his early 20s, to going bankrupt and starting all over again at zero to build back an even bigger empire than he had before.
I'm like buying businesses, I'm buying land, I'm playing Monopoly at this point, right? Don't even give them a chance. Just buy everything you land, I'll buy it. And I'm doing that at age like 23, 24, I'll buy it. Money doesn't bring you happiness, but money makes life easier. And I just saw an easier life. And I always asked myself, why don't we have that?
Edmund's story is one of resilience, perseverance, and pure grit. Edmund did not build all of this by accident, and in this episode, you can expect to learn some of his biggest secrets to success.
I don't know if it's public or not, but it's called You guys are so screwed. If your generation learns how to, you'll be light years ahead of the other people you hang out with.
Awesome, guys. Welcome back to the Industry Leaders Podcast. My name is Andres Quiroz.
I'm Alex Johnson.
This is episode 1. We're here with Edmund Marquez.
I'm episode 1. This is very exciting.
Yes, sir.
Very exciting.
You're truly an industry leader here in Tucson and within your industry as well. So
thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a quote that I heard from you that I really liked, and that was, every year of your life should be the best year of your life. I maybe butchered it a little bit, but what does that actually mean to you, and how do you keep your foot on the gas pedal and apply that into your own life?
Yeah, that's great. And I strongly believe that. Why would you want to live a year in which you think it will be worse off than any other year you've had? So yeah, I think every year should be better than the previous year. At the same time, we can get into it in another part of the conversation. Every generation should be better than the previous generation. So yeah, every year I evaluate, I sit down. I always believe one of the most important conversations you can have is with yourself. So I will sit down and have a conversation with myself and ask, what did I do? What did I accomplish this year? And then I will look at my next year, and I will in my phone in the notes section, I'll write down, what do I want 2026 to look like? And I'll look at 2025. Did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? I don't get minute in my goals. I think I look kind of big picture, but yeah, every single year, I've been asked in the past, why have you been successful, or what do you deem successful? And I just think, what drives me is the fact that we are on this planet for a very short time, right? I mean, there's people right now that are in hospital beds with cancer. There are people that are having a limb removed. I mean, there's horrible things happening out there. So be thankful for what you have. And I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this, and move your ass. Go do something great. Why would you sit back and not have a great year? Yeah, that's up to you.
It's total self-discipline and self-accountability, for sure.
It's conversation. It's being accountable to you, right? So you manage so many things. I thought about this on the way down here because I knew we were going to talk about success. You manage you, right? You can control you. So that's very diverse. Like God gave me one body, so I'm responsible for this body. How will I manage it, right? People think they lack control in certain categories. Well, this is something I control. I control me. So what do I want my body to look like? What do I want my body to feel like? How healthy will I be? What will be the food that I feed my body? What will I drink, right? I'll tell you, like, I don't drink alcohol. I've never done a drug. I drink water. I mean, there's a Spindrift water off camera right now. I drink water, I drink tea, I drink coffee, right? I don't go drink a beer. I don't drink a soda. You just choose, right? You got to make choices. But with every facet of your life, if you analyze it, and some may say I'm fastidious, anal retentive, whatever the word is, but like I analyze every single portion of my life, and if I can improve it in any way, I'll improve it. And just like you're sitting down with me, I'm older than you. I sit down with guys and gals that are older than me, right? And I want to know what they've done to be successful. So I grew up in I'll call it a middle class family, and I went to Sabino High School. So a lot of the parents I were around were much wealthier than us, and not in a materialistic way, but they've just had successes. And with money doesn't bring you happiness, but money makes life easier. And I just saw an easier life. And I always asked myself, why don't we have that? So I'd ask my mom and dad, what are you doing or what are you not doing that we don't have certain things? And I'd hold my parents accountable as a kid. I would go home and clean our house perfectly clean. And you'd ask, why is a 12-year-old cleaning the house perfectly clean? Because it should be better than it is, right? So I've always just looked at how do you continue to progress in the things you're doing. And there's multiple categories. So you just choose the category. If you have a blunt conversation with yourself and you're really true to yourself, you know there's areas that you can do better. And it depends whether or not you move your ass and you choose to do better in that category.
For sure.
I almost want to take a break. Like, there's already nuggets here that I want to write down. Like, we came out swinging. It's like 2 minutes in.
Grab a paper.
but that's actually an interesting topic, though, too, because if you're saying, I mean, you came from middle class, but what did you see in yourself, like, looking back now at your younger years? Like, what actually separated you from everyone else, or maybe what were some of your traits that led you to having a more successful life?
I think it's an immigrant's mentality. I mean, we were joking before we got on here, I don't speak Spanish very well. So my grandparents came over on a train, and they all came, crazy enough, both sides of the family came over together on a train, and they ended up in Morenci and Clifton, Arizona, some mining town. And in that town in the 1960s, there was a sign at the pool, and it was a big red sign with white letters, according to my parents, and it said, "No Spanish spoken here." Right? So then they come to Tucson, they obviously get married, long story short, they have my sister and I, and they think, my kids have to assimilate, right? And we have to, I'll say it out loud, you have to survive in a white world when you're Latino, right? You have to, whether you're African American, Black, Latino, whatever, you have to survive in the culture that we are living in, right? And so they didn't teach us how to speak Spanish. My son coincidentally learned Spanish in Spanish class at South Point, right? He can speak Spanish pretty well. He's really attracted to the language. It's a beautiful language. But yeah, we were taught not to speak Spanish. And then our grandpa, my dad's dad, who was an entrepreneur, said the same things over and over again. He'd say, "Mijito, we didn't come here for nothing." Meaning we made the journey here to move our lives from Mexico to the United States to live the American dream. Number one. Number two, he'd say, each generation has the obligation and responsibility to outperform the previous generation.
That's powerful.
And my dad outperformed him, and then I learned from my dad. But here's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down. And my mom's heard me say this on different podcast interviews, and it's upset her, but I'll just say it again. Your parents can only take you so far. Your parents only know so much about fiscal knowledge, right? Whether it's about health, what they're feeding their kids. There's only so much they can teach you. But there's all these categories, right? So one of my closest friends, one of my best friends is Tony Penn, who is the CEO right now, the interim CEO of Boys and Girls Club. He's the legendary CEO of United Way. He is a Black man. And Tony and I would sit down as a Latino and a Black man and discuss not our color of our skin, but our cultures, right? There's a Latino culture, whatever color your skin is, right? There's a Black culture. And traditionally in these cultures, we don't inherit fiscal knowledge, right? So you asked me before we got on camera, my commercial real estate portfolio, has that saved me money with taxes? Yes, because I have a depreciation schedule, right? So there's what was it called? Dang it. There's a thing you can do, I'm forgetting the terminology right now, it'll come while I'm speaking about it, but you can buy a commercial property and you can have an accountant and a third-party company come and do an assessment of the property, and they'll create an accelerated depreciation schedule. And I can then pay way less tax than others because I've worked my butt off enough to buy a commercial property, and now I can do a cost segregation analysis and I can lower my expenses for my taxes. Is that a wealthier individual cheating or game? No, it's just part of the IRS code. I can do it. I learned it I happened to be at an event. I ran into George Larson of Larson Baker. I said, "George, will you please have lunch with me?" Do this more often, just like we're doing a podcast. "George, will you please have lunch with me?" Sure. George is a legend. I thought George, he's done so well. I thought this guy's taking me to Fleming's, man. Like, let's go. I met him at his office. We went to Scrappy's Bar. It's like Scrappy's Bar, like this bar. And I got a little burger. He bought me a little hamburger. And we had lunch. And I made sure to be quiet during the lunch and just listen to George. And I asked George his life story. George, tell me how you went from where you are to where you've been to where you are. Amazing life story, trials and tribulations, falling on his ass, rebuilding, etc. At the very end of lunch, I said, "George, give me a nugget. He's like, what do you mean? Tell me something I can take with me besides your story. Tell me a nugget. He said, cost segregation analysis. I said, what the hell is that? It's a depreciation schedule, blah, blah, blah. I said, how many properties you own? He gave me a number. How many cost segregation analysis have you done? He said, all of them. So I thank you so much, George. I left. I got in my car, I gave him a big hug, got in my car, called my accountant. I said, Troy, I want to do a cost segregation analysis. My good CPA said, let's analyze that. Let's discuss it. I said, I don't want to discuss anything. Just do it. Order it. I ran a cost segregation analysis on the property on the other side of this wall, and it gave me like a $250,000 credit from lunch over a little tiny hamburger with George Larson. Would I have figured that out on my own? No. Keep asking people to do podcasts, ask them to go to lunch, etc. Yeah, but back to your question, I will say it's the mentality of my family. They just simply knew do better. And I have amazing parents in which my mom is scrappy. My mom will say, don't take any crap from anybody. If somebody gives you crap, you go to the top. You go figure out how do you combat that. My dad would always say to me, you can do it, dream big, think big, and I would. Sometimes, unfortunately, in the Latino culture, if you find, and I've run into many of them, typically U of A students that are doing really well who are trying to get out of their neighborhood, it's like a bucket of crabs, right? You never have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs because they'll continue to drag each other down when they try to, as soon as one tries to climb up the side of the bucket, the other crabs will grab onto him and pull that crab down. And I've seen that, unfortunately, in our culture where we'll say, what, you think you're better than me, man? You think you're better than me? You think you're a college student now? Like you can leave me? You think you're better than me? And we got to stop doing that. We got to continue to raise people up.
You're involved in the community so much. We'll go down that route in the podcast. But I want to know is what industry did you decide to pursue in? And then how did you even get into the industry in the first place?
And you talking about insurance?
Yeah.
So we talked about it when we walked in. I went to Sabino High School. I played football, soccer, track, baseball, theater, and I was in student council. But I just never did grades. I mean, I didn't do my homework. Like I was a smart kid. I was dynamic. I'd be considered a popular kid. I had like a 2.3 grade point average. We had just won an undefeated state championship in football. But if I could go do life again, there's not many redos I'd do. But one of the redos I'd do is I'd do my homework in high school. It's not hard. You just put your mind to it. I should have had a 3.8 instead of a 2.3 out of high school. So when I got out of high school, I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I had the drive. But all my buddies who I'd played football with were now getting scholarships for U of A, USC, Illinois, San Jose State, etc. I mean, they were going to these amazing universities. They're packing up and leaving to Southern California. I remember I just graduated and I was walking through a dorm room at NAU to visit a buddy. And my buddy Cole Ford, who I just played football with, was kicking an extra point at Notre Dame. I'm like, what the hell am I doing, right? So I didn't even apply for U of A. I wasn't going anywhere else but U of A. So I went to Pima. So I had to get my act together, and I had to realize I was good at Pima before I could transfer to U of A. But because I put myself in that situation, I went to my dad and I said, can I go work in your Allstate agency? He's like, oh, I didn't think you'd be interested. Please, I got to go learn a craft. I didn't do well. I was analyzing myself. I was having a truthful conversation with myself. You didn't do your homework, dude. You got a 2.3. You're at Pima. Your buddies are on the campus of Southern California, USC, and you're at Pima. You got to go learn a trade. You got to know that you have a backup. You got to make money. So I went to my dad's agency. I was working at Ventana Canyon. I was doing the pool, and I was doing turn down at Ventana Canyon. I left Ventana Canyon. I went to my dad's agency. He said, don't touch the phones. Obviously, I went from filing to touching the phones. I was really good on the phone talking to people. I worked at my dad's agency. And then my junior year, I became the director of the Cedric Dempsey Cancer Center run. I was the head of the marketing for the Cedric Dempsey Cancer Center run. Senior year, I became the director of the Cedric Dempsey Cancer Center run, which is a running event benefiting the Arizona Cancer Center at U of A. We broke every record because I went in, I don't know, arrogantly, confidently, and I just said, we're going to break every record. We had 6,000 people show up for a running event on a Sunday, and we raised $500,000 for cancer because we broke every mold. I had Elvis impersonators shooting off the gun. I had Mr. Peanut roller skating next to people. We had a rock climbing wall. We brought out AOL's internet before internet was internet. We gave everybody a loaf of wholesome bread when they finished. I mean, we got crazy, right?
Where does your self-confidence come from? Because I've seen it from before we even on camera.
It's my parents. It's my sister, who's an amazingly accomplished woman. It's my family just loving me. Yeah. And it's me, most important, me loving me. I have a lot of conversations with myself. I'm an early bird because I want to be alone. I want to be with me. I've learned a couple things as a married man. I want to be alone in the morning. I need my time in the gym, or I go take a walk with my dog, or I'm on my bike. And I've also learned my wife is my best friend and my business partner. She doesn't want me home in the morning. And she'll say, no, that's not true. It's true. It's true, man. She wants me to be away in the morning because she wants her alone time. And I've realized that as a marriage, even though she'll deny it. If she was here, she'd deny it. We all want to be alone. But my confidence comes from a really good relationship with myself. I have a hard time of just chilling out and doing nothing because I feel like people are passing me by, life's passing me by. There's an opportunity out there I should be looking at, etc.
So how do you balance that mindset? Because I have that, like you both do, me and Phil as well. How do you handle that constant struggle with having balance, taking care of your kids, having a great marriage, having a great business? How do you still handle all that?
Well, here's an easy answer. You have a phone. Yeah. You have a calendar on your phone. Calendar it if you have to. So, and we haven't gotten into my story yet, but I was very ambitious out of college, and I got really out of balanced. We can talk about that later. Back to your original question. When I graduated U of A, finally after transferring from Pima, I got a job offer from Warner Brothers in Burbank to go work on the VHS line. And I always thought, Southern California, convertible Corvette, blonde sitting next to me, like, I'm out of here, man. And Allstate came to me and said, you were really good when you're at your dad's agency. We have an agency that just failed on the west side on St. Mary's and Silverbell. Would you like to take over that failed agency? We will give you 0 clients. They offered me basically a lease and some used computers and desks. And so we went, I'll get into that part because I think that'll be interesting for you guys. So I went to Allstate out of college, super ambitious. Like, I am going to crush it. Just let me loose. I was like, I'd never seen a dog at the end of a chain where it's like, as soon as you let that thing go, that dog runs. Yeah. That was me getting into the business world. And so I went into my Allstate agency. I'll speed it up for you. I picked up 30 car dealers.
Please don't.
Okay, we do have an hour.
Yeah. Please don't.
So
good.
I didn't want to be a typical Allstate agent because the insurance industry is not sexy. I mean, whoever said, oh my gosh, man, I need to be an insurance agent because that's just so sexy. It's not sexy. It's just a business though, right? It's a business. You're selling contracts, you're protecting families, etc. It's not sexy, but it's a really stable business. But I didn't want to be the typical agent. Back then in 1996, agents were putting your flex, like I'm amazing, was based on how many inches you had in the phone book. That's what the agents were flexing on, is how many inches they had in the phone book. So I didn't buy the phone book. So I went out and I picked up 30 car dealerships. I literally, because I don't know if I even mentioned this, my senior year of college, besides the Cedric Dempsey Cancer Center run, I became the director of marketing for EGs. And that was an amazing experience for me. I learned a lot about point of purchase. I'll just tell you a side story. My boss, when I was at EGs, had a heart attack in front of me while we were at the EGs on Tucson Boulevard and Speedway. And he had just sent me to CPR class the week before. Because when you work in a restaurant, you got to know CPR. And me and the restaurant manager saved his life on the floor of the EGs. And it was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. I love him. He's still alive to this day. We saved his life on that floor of the EGs. But don't ever be around someone that had a heart attack. It's horrible. So anyway, when I was picking up the 30 car dealerships, I'd literally go take them fun packs of EGs. I'd show up at Jim Click Nissan, and I'd say, here's some EGs, here's my business cards. And I was their age. I was 22 years old.
What would you say though? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say, you need me. I'm 22. I'm not married. When you sell a car at 11 o'clock at night and you can't roll that car because they don't have insurance and there's no internet back then, you can page me on my pager. I'll take out my crappy laptop with a 3.5-inch floppy, right? And I will quote you an Allstate policy and I will fax you a binder. So at my house and at my office, I had a fax machine. I had a blue pager that I still own to this day. I'd have a little laptop that would make a whirling noise because it was trying to read the disc. And I'd be doing quotes. So I became, by age 23, became the #2 auto producer in the country for Allstate. I went from graduating U of A, picking up the dealerships, #2 auto producer. And the initial contract with Allstate was, I don't know why, but it basically starved you for 18 months. It was a horrible contract. So I needed staff because we were doing so many auto policies. I was borrowing money from my dad I don't even know where he got it, maybe credit card or whatever. But on the 19th month, once you get past the 18 months, the 19th month, they put a multiplier on based on how much business you wrote in the 18 months. And they weren't ready for what I wrote in the first 18 months because I was number 2 in the country behind some dude named Emmanuel Zizi in New York. I don't know what the hell Emmanuel's doing, but I was literally open 6 days a week till 7 o'clock at night. And then you couldn't even sit at dinner with me or a movie because I would just get paged all night. I'd be like, hey, what's up, man? Oh, you're having a sale at O'Reilly. All right, man. And I'd be like, let me just do this real quick because I'm at Red Lobster with my wife. He'd be like, hold on, man. I got to pass the phone on to Joe. Actually, what's up, Joe? I need a quote too, man. All right, okay, I'd do it. And he's like, let me hand the phone to Mark. All right, man, like my food's getting cold, but hand the phone to Mark. I couldn't even sit through dinner with you. I'd literally go to dinner and I paid for dinner because I did so many ballsies while I was sitting there. But yeah, we crushed. So that 19th month, Allstate started paying me some pretty sizable checks for a 23-year-old in like 1997. And so that's a defining moment when somebody starts paying you some decent cash. Some people would, if they were immature, would take the cash and be like, let's go, like I'm the man. I did not do that. I literally just started getting this checks, and I first paid my dad back like 23 grand that I owed him. I'm like, we're even. And then I kept getting these checks while I kept working this machine. I had this machine, and we were just selling policies. I'm working the machine, and I kept getting the money, and I thought, all right, let's take a deep breath. Like, what are we going to do with this money? So I strategically, I'll speed up the story. I went to my dad and said, you're not really into this anymore. He had his agency still on Speedway, and I'm on St. Mary's. And my agency, in a year and a half, I built the same size agency as my dad had after 30 years. That's how big we grew and how fast we grew. Like, I crushed it. So I said, you're out of, I'll retire you now. I'll buy your agency. He's like, okay. So I literally retired my viejito. He went home, and I bought my dad's agency, and I doubled the size of my agency overnight. And then I said, I don't believe in renting, right? I already bought a house right out of college. My grandma co-signed for me, and I bought a house. I paid for it. She just co-signed. And so I went to the person that owned his building on Speedway, and I said, Ron, I want to take you to lunch. I took him to La Paria Suiza. He and I grinded it out during lunch, and I bought my dad's building he was renting. Then I had 2 other tenants. So I had 2 tenants, and I had an agency, and the 2 tenants were basically paying me to have my agency at that location. I remodeled it, modernized it to what I wanted to look like. And then my sister, who was working for Shell Oil in California, I just said, I know you're moving to Tucson. You're going to want to have a child. You want our parents to help you with the child. My sister's super ambitious. I said, what's your plan? My sister said, I'm going to buy some gas stations. And I said, good, I'm in. And I invested 6 figures as like a 23 or 24-year-old into my sister's gas stations. So before I knew it, I owned 3 Chevron gas stations and an ARCO AM PM. And then I said, this Jim Click guy, he's amazing. He's amazing. He had of all the dealerships I dealt with, no offense to all the dealers in town, Click ran the best dealerships. Militant, character. Everyone dressed nice, no tattoos, no facial hair back then. Now they have tattoos and facial hair. But he just ran the best dealerships. I said, I want to be like this Jim Click guy. He's making a lot of money. I want to do that. So I got one of the guys I trusted in the business, and I bought a car dealership on the south side, and we called it All Star Auto Exchange. And it started as a small dealership, then became a medium, then became a large, and we were churning out. We were really selling independent. We were independent. We were selling cars. And during that process, I had one of the most amazing lessons in my life. I didn't understand the financials. So I'd be handed a P&L and a balance sheet from our accountant, and I'd be like, this is Chinese, man. So I had to call Jacob, our accountant, and say, please come to the dealership and tell me how to read this. And it was a defining moment in my life. So I'm reading a P&L of how the dealership's running, and the difference between a car dealership and gas stations versus an insurance agency. And I kind of went in arrogantly because I'm like, I'm like boy wonder in the insurance world. I can do this. I'm like buying businesses. I'm buying land. I'm playing Monopoly at this point, right? You know, when you play Monopoly, you know how to win Monopoly? First time around the board, you buy everything. Don't even give them a chance. Just buy everything you land. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. And I'm doing that at age like 23, 24. I'll buy it. I bought the land across the street. So I'm reading a P&L, and I noticed I'm spending money in 3 areas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm spending a ton of money on automotive repair. I'm spending a ton of money on warranties and gap insurance. And I'm spending a ton of money on these discounts the banks are charging me. So anytime you sell a car to somebody that has bad credit, the bank goes, I don't know if I want to do this loan. I'm going to charge you a discount. But the discount is I'm going to charge you like a $1,200 fee for me to do this loan. There's no discount. It's more like punch in the face.
The opposite.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to add points.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of points. Like they punch you in the face basically. So I'm like, I circle these 3 areas and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. So I said, I'm gonna buy some lifts. I'm gonna hire some mechanics. I'll do my own automotive repair. It can't be that hard, right? I'll hire some mechanics. They'll do it. That configuration of the dealership at the time, I literally put a lift in the back, hired one dude named Oscar, and I'd get cars. I'd go buy cars at the auction, bring them back. Oscar would change the oil. He'd freaking check them out. He'd do an inspection. If it got too deep, we'd send it to a shop. Then I said, I got to grow this. So we bought the land across the street. I put in like 4 lifts. I hired more mechanics. I hired a service manager, and I'm spending all my money with me. And that's called the vertical integration, right? You've heard it before. I didn't know what it was. I knew what to do. Vertical integration. Then for the warranties and the gap insurance, what I was spending with these other companies, I did my research and I opened one offshore in the Caymans. And you could open up offshore warranty companies and gap insurance. Then somebody would regulate and do the underwriting with the actuaries, but I would own it. And so I started owning my own warranties and gaps. So I was spending money with me. And then one thing that dealers do, which I don't know if it's public or not, but it's called mailbox money. You pack a warranty with $100. You pack a gap insurance with 50. And every time the warranty company receives all this money, they send you a check to your house, and you get mailbox money. And then I opened up my own finance arm called it was Viking Warranty Superstar Automotive. I gotta forget the name of my Tempest Financial. It was named after. I used to go to the movie theater on Speedway and Wilmot before your time. It was called Cineworld, and they had a Tempest video game where you spin the dial. You ever played that video game? You guys are children. But I called it after that video game, Tempest Financial. I just thought it was cool. And I started financing my own cars. I'd pay the discount to me. And I was just making literally almost more money than I knew what to do with. My agency was still jamming. My gas stations were doing well. My dealership was just churning out cash. And then I got approached by American Suzuki. It's a long story short. I got approached by American Suzuki saying, we want to bring the Suzuki brand, Japanese, to the United States. And we're only giving it to the large independents that are doing well. And I qualified for a Suzuki dealership. I had to unfortunately stop doing business with that current business partner and pick up a new business partner who had capital, because we had to be able to invest. We invested a couple $1 million into Suzuki. And then we became the first ever new car store in the history of the South Side, and the first Mexican-American owned new car store ever in the history of Tucson. And we were jamming. We were killing it. And my competition, who had the other Suzuki dealership? Jim Click. And if he's watching, I crushed Mr. Click with Suzukis. He was selling he didn't care. He was selling Ford, but he'd sell like 15 Suzukis, and I'd sell like 40. So I was ranked in the West Coast for Suzuki dealerships. We were jamming. The negative of all of that is I was so busy. I gained 40 pounds. I didn't really see my wife very much because I just worked. You know, when you're Latino and you're macho, you just work. I wasn't out there like at bars and women. I would just literally just worked. I'd wake up. I was gained weight. I'd go have a bowl of cereal, which is horrible to have for breakfast, sugary milk and carbohydrates. And then I'd drive to my gas station. I'd count the money. We'd make the deposit. I'd grab a burrito, and I'd grab me like a Sobe drink and like a whatchamacallit bar. And then I'd drive to my dealership. I'd make sure my BDC, my Business Development Center, had scheduled all the appointments based on the 1 hour programs that I was putting on TV of me talking about all the car deals, right? The infomercials. And then I'd make sure that my BDC had filled up my appointment board. Then I'd go across the street and I'd check all the service tickets of all the guys fixing cars. And I'd go up to my office and I'd do numbers all day to make sure we were dialed in. And I just did that. And then you'd think you'd go home to go see your kids at the end of the night. But by that time, the dealership's busy. And I'd go across the street because I was the guy on TV. And people wanted to shake my hand, and I'd go close deals, and we'd sell lots of cars, and then I'd get home like at 9:30, and my kids are asleep. So I was really succeeding in business. I got Businessman of the Year, which is behind me. I was giving all these awards. Hispanic Business Magazine named me one of the top CEOs, the Latino CEOs in the country. And I was like 26 years old. But I was failing. I was failing in life. I was failing because I wasn't there for my wife. A blessing occurred, which was one of the hardest lessons I ever learned. In 2008, January, I lost money for the first time in my dealership. And I was like, whoa. So literally called all my managers in and said, what the hell was that? Like, come on, let's go. February, we made some money in 2008. I'm like, okay, all right, we're back to normal. Then I lost about $100,000 a month, March, April, May, June, July, August. I'm just bleeding money. So the housing market, because of the derivatives, was crashing. And so the banks tightened, and the banks said, no more, don't lend any money. The federal government was printing money, giving it to the banks, but the banks were holding on to the money, and because of the housing market, wouldn't fund a car deal. So they were suffocating me. And I was leveraged in the gas stations and the dealership. And in 2008, December of 2008, I closed my dealership, and I had to file bankruptcy. And so I filed bankruptcy. It was a reorganization, not a scorched earth. I lost my house. This is a time in which I got to reinvent my life. Everything went from really noisy to quiet. And as it was quiet, I asked myself, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? What kind of father do you want to be? I had a great conversation with myself, and I decided some things. I got to be a better husband with my wife. She's an amazing woman. I got an amazing wife, amazing partner, and you have sucked as a husband, and you need to hang out with her. You got to help her raise these amazing, beautiful kids that are always so smiling, always smiling and happy to see you, even though you're not home that much. You got to spend time with them. I want to run one business, right? I want to be really good. I want to be In-N-Out Burger, and with a simple menu. I don't want to be Cheesecake Factory by the book with mediocre food, right? No offense at Cheesecake Factory. And then once I get my act together, I want to give back to my community because that's where my business thrives and my family lives. And that's what I did. I went back to my agency. It was very quiet. I only had enough money really for my dad, who was working now in my agency, and my one support staff. And I was basically going to starve for a year, and just whatever I hunted and killed is what I ate. Like whatever I sold is the only money I would get to survive on.
The same thing like going to dealerships again.
I didn't do the dealerships anymore, but I literally, one defining moment for me was when I got done closing my dealership, letting go all my employees, selling off stuff on eBay because it was I needed some cash just to eat. I literally couldn't buy groceries. So I went from driving a Ferrari Testarossa and being on TV all the time to I couldn't buy groceries. I was in the Safeway at the Sabino Canyon in Tanque Verde. I remember seeing a lady there buying groceries, and I was jealous of her because I literally went to the dented can area in the back because I just had so much money and I had to get to my next paycheck. And I always say it is the best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing, because I got to reinvent myself. And the person that called me to tell me to shut down my dealership and to file bankruptcy,
Jim Click.
Jim Click.
I just don't get how you thought like that. I mean, at the time, because I'm sure you were feeling like you were the man. I don't know how you felt at that time, but being in your 20s, that just kind of blows my mind. But then after losing millions, losing the house, everything, like what was your mindset like? Or did you have to think about it, or was it just natural to you to fight back?
Oh, it's natural to fight back. So every human being, everyone watching this, you too, you have a fight or flight mentality. And when stuff happens in your life, you'll learn whether you're a fighter or you're going to sit in the corner and cry. And I had two beautiful young kids and beautiful wife, and I had to feed them. And I absolutely have fight in me. I absolutely. You can continue to watch my balance sheet as I do better in life financially. I will continue to fight. It's just my nature, right? I have a fight in me. Also, my doctor always says, you got to chill out, dude. You're always in the fight mode, right? You're always trying to move forward. But yeah, that conversation I had with myself, the first conversation with Mr. Click kind of said it all, because Mr. Click said, son, go back and do what you're good at. Go back and do insurance. Like that, I remember that. Go back.
Why did he call you though? Did you guys already develop a relationship prior to that?
So one caveat is when you become a new car dealer, even though I was a small Suzuki dealership on the south side, I now qualified to be part of the Tucson New Car Dealers Association. So I'm sitting with Buck O'Reilly, Jim Click, Ted Chapman, Tom Cabido. I'm sitting with the Titans, and I was like this little, chubby Latino dude running in going, "What's up?" And Click didn't know me. He took forever to memorize my name, and he'd always say, I like your energy. I like your energy, he'd say to me. And I'd be like, hey, I just idolized him. Like that was the guy. So if God ever could choose a person to call me, to tell me to stop the madness, it was Jim Click. And by the way, I was sitting in my basketball shorts, I had no shirt on. I was just fat little thing sitting in the corner, doing all my numbers, and my phone started ringing. I ignored it. Phone started ringing, ignored it. Phone started ringing. I'm like, let me go tell the bank. We're in trouble. And hello? And they're like, yes, sir, is this Edmund? I said, yes, it is. And they said, we have Mr. Click holding for you. Freaked out, ran into my living room. I remember sitting at the edge of my couch like this. And I waited, and then, hello, Edmund? And I'm like, yes, sir, this is Jim Click. I'm like, I know who you are. And he's like, son, I heard everything that's going on. Don't be ashamed that you tried. And he said, Boom Pop, his dad, Boom Pop filed bankruptcy back in Oklahoma. Son, it's your God-given right to file bankruptcy in the United States. He said that to me. What? I'm not planning on bankruptcy, Mr. Click. He's like, it's your God-given right. Clean the slate, start over. You can't battle your way out of this. And I'm like, you're right. Like I'm stressed out. I'm freaking out. I got shingles. Like I'm freaking out at this point because I've had perfect credit my entire life. I have always paid things, and there was so much pressure. But if you sell a car and the person rolls off the lot with the car, you now have a contract signed on your desk. You have to give that to the bank for the bank to buy it, to give you the money back, so you can then take your profit and go buy another car. They weren't buying them off the desk, so we were like, we had no firepower. It's like owning a battleship with no ammunition. Like you're out, you're done, man. The war's over. And I remember saying to Click, do you mean I can file bankruptcy and I can erase all this, which is in my high view, this wasn't my fault. This was the downturn of the economy, and the economy was crashing. Like companies were getting bailed out, and I just had nowhere to go. I said, you mean I can erase all of this, or at least reorganize all this, and I can start over with everything I have in here? I remember I kept asking that. So everything I have in here, I can start over? He said, yes. And so through my friend Peter Marquez, I was so lucky to get the best bankruptcy lawyer in town. His name is Scott Gibson. Scott was too busy for me. He was a really busy guy. God bless him. He's no longer on this planet. But I went to Scott's office. I was freaked out. Scott just basically came in. He was running from office to office because there were so many bankruptcies happening. I literally saw people I knew in there, and I was like, sorry, man, sorry. I didn't mean to see you here. I'm here. And Scott runs in. He's like, look, man, you're a friend of Peter's. I don't take deals as small as yours, but I'm doing it. And he basically threw down all that I owe, and he threw my assets down, and he says, circle the ones you want to keep. He says, but whatever you circle, you got to pay for. I'm like, I'll take the Allstate agency. I'll take the building on Speedway. And the building on Speedway, unfortunately, I bought it for $247,000, but I borrowed against it, and I owed like $550 on it because I borrowed against it in the height of the market, and all these banks giving you money, and Wells Fargo was just trying to give me money. Then I took it and threw it into the Suzuki dealership, and then the market crashed. So I owed twice what was due on that building. And I started over, and it was seriously the best thing I ever did. So if you think of a biblical story, they talk about building the house on sand. Yeah. That's being leveraged, over leveraged. I've built a house on rock, and they let me rebuild, and I built a way better house. I built a really strong house. Long story short, so I can end this story. I had 4 beautiful human beings come to me. One is my mother-in-law. I'll say their names on this. One is Peter Marquez. One is Paul Lindsay. One is Lex Sears. And all 4 of them came to me and said, we believe in you. We know you're going to rebuild. We just know it. You're going to need money. So let us know when you want to borrow money. And so in the downturn of the economy, when it just crashed and everyone was freaking out and people are losing their houses, and it was a real recession, I had access to capital. Wow. And so I worked my butt off for a year, and then Allstate came to me, and I had to literally introduce myself to Allstate again. Because I'd been gone 8.5 years with my dealership. I'm like, I'm Edmund. I'm one of your agents. I came back, almost starved for a year, came back, killed it in production. So Allstate came to me and said, well, what can we do for you? You did a great job. And I said,
what were you, like, how did you build it back up?
I worked my ass off. I just got to work. I just sold policies.
How did you get that?
If I knew you, I'd be like, hey man, good to see you. You're like, oh, hey, you're losing weight from the dealership. Yeah, thanks, man. Great. Where's your insurance? Let me get you a quote, man. Like, I just sold. I was in the trench. I just sold. And then I learned that Allstate has a benefits program called Allstate Voluntary Benefits. And I learned that I could go to my buddies that own companies and I could say to them, hey, I know you offer health insurance through United or whatever. We do voluntary benefits, which is ancillary. Like, we'll give you an accident plan, a life insurance plan, etc. And can I please do your voluntary benefits? I want to enroll your employees. And I learned I could make little chunks of money here and there. But we didn't have any money. And so I'll give you a nugget. So I started riding my bike to lose weight. And I would ride up and down Mount Lemmon almost every day. Because I started mountain biking, and then I no offense to those guys, I got faster than them. And then I got, oh my God, I got on a road bike, and I'm like, this is great. And I wanted to ride every day, but the people I was riding with didn't want to ride every day. So I just started riding alone because I just got addicted to riding my bike. And I used to ride up Mount Lemmon to the 5-mile marker every day. And on the way down, I would see this entourage around this one guy.
Jim Click. So I was riding down a mountain, I'd see Mr. Click, and I'd yell, hi, everybody, just to be a smart ass. So I'd go down. And Mr. Click invited me to ride with him. And I said to myself, this dude will never get rid of me. So as I continued to have access to capital, I started buying agencies. So Allstate said to me, what can we do for you? You had a great year. I said, I want to buy another agency. Can I push back on that?
Yes.
If someone wants to get into the insurance industry, like, what were you doing? Who was your biggest accounts? Who was your ideal client? Who was your ideal business partner you were going after?
Business partner? No. I don't like business partners.
Were you going after like dealerships again?
No, I just worked my ass off. So you're a realtor. Yeah. There's no magic sauce, man. Like, so we're at my Allstate agency, and if you can see through the doors, you can see the traffic on Campbell. Yeah. Sometimes I'll hire new people. I'll put my arm around them. I'll say, look at that traffic on Campbell. Just pause here for a second. You see all those cars going by? Yeah. We can insure every single one of those. It's a massive bucket out there. There's 1 million people. Go sell them. Like, if you're a realtor, there's no magic sauce. There's no magic bullet. You need to literally, like, everyone you meet, you're like, you're in the market for a house? Like, you need to go sell. You got to go grind. That's how I just would grind. I would try to answer the phone at my own agency and be like, hey, how's it going? I would go sit in a room with friends, and I'd be literally sitting there going, I better insure every single one of them. And I'd be like, I don't insure you yet. Hey, what's up, man? Like, who you insured with? Like, when your back's against the wall, you don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident in Allstate. Our product is amazing. Our company's amazing. We're the largest publicly traded insurance company in the U.S., and Allstate is very intelligent. So I had a great company backing me. So I'll tell you a fun little side story. I had nothing. Like, I was barely buying groceries, and I was so thankful to go back to my Allstate agency. But it had shrunk in half. It went from like a $3 million agency down to 1.5 because I'd been gone 8.5 years, right? And I wasn't pushing as much business into it. And I was so thankful to Allstate. I started buying $25 worth of stock. Nothing, right? That's all I could afford. That was it. I just was so thankful. I was just like, thank you, Allstate, for feeding my family. I got to put a roof over our head. I got to start all over again. $25. And then after a while, I started doing a little better. I'm like, I'll make it $50. Then I'm doing a little better. I'll make it $100. I'm doing a little better. I'll make it $200. And I stopped at 200. And I believe every time a human being gets paid, you have an opportunity to save money. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you have. So every time, it should be an explosion every time you're paid. And every time I'm paid, money goes off into different investments so that I don't touch it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to choose whether to invest. It just happens. And then whatever I'm left over with, I live on. And so I just got used to $200 going to Allstate. I didn't really pay attention to it. And like 2 years ago, my wife and I were remodeling the kitchen. And it gets more expensive as your wife goes shopping for all the stuff she wants in her kitchen. And I'm like, I'm going to look at that Allstate stock, just to see what's happening with the kitchen. And I pulled 70 grand out of it just to help me remodel my kitchen. Like, it's amazing what happens when you compounding interest and you put money away. But little side story, but you probably have questions, so I'll stop talking.
No, please keep going.
That is super valuable. And like, now, from having a Ferrari, you just had probably made it to all the standards in our world today, and then losing that Like, what is your relationship like with money now or with success? Like, do the same things matter to you, or what is your relationship like with that?
That's a damn good question. I always equate the purchase of assets to kung fu. I mentioned kung fu to you before we got on this. Like, it's a game. Like, all of this is a game. We're playing a game. You're playing a game. Whether it's the game you're playing is I'm going to take good care of my body. I'm going to concentrate on my marriage. I'm going to concentrate on with my kids. It's a game we're playing, right? And financially, it's a game as well. I watch people make money, and they just blow their opportunity every month. Like, I just got asked, and I don't know when this is airing. Next week Wednesday, I'm flying to Nashville, and I'm being asked to talk to a group. It's called the Mega Agency Conference. It's the biggest agents in the country. And it's a conference thrown by the biggest agents, not corporate. We all get together, we talk. And they want to ask me about wealth. So I'm going to get on stage and talk about wealth. Because what I'm watching the Allstate agencies do is they're making more money. So you're in real estate, right? You're kind of in a set income, but you're going to have ebbs and flows in the real estate world. There's going to be time in which you're killing it. I can do no wrong. Then it's the ebb and the flow, right? Then you're going to be like, what the hell? There's less deals out there. I don't know what's happening. You have to manage your money. Sadly, last time that the real estate industry did well was when the rates were low, and you watched all the mortgage people basically do all these refis, right? And they were swimming in cash. Yeah. And when they were swimming in cash, I sat back as a guy that had gone through a massive bankruptcy back in the day, who's very conservative with money, and I just try to pay off debt, which is my safety, and then I try to pick up an asset, which is my stability, right? And I watched these schmucky mortgage brokers out there. There's some great ones, but the schmucky ones were buying boats and buying the new truck, and I just watching them spend money, and I'm like, God, it's naive, man. Like, it's an ebb and a flow, man. So Gabe Navarez of Real Brokers asked me to speak at one of his conventions, and I said it had just crashed. The rates had just gone up, and it just went, ooh, everything just stopped.
In July, I think it's 2023.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I spoke at it, and I'm like, y'all just had an ebb and a flow. Like, I'm on the stage. I just watched you do well. I hope to God you put money aside. I hope to God you invested money and you didn't spend it. And sadly, now that I know a lot of people in the room, probably 70% of it just spend it. And they're now giving boats back. They're now downsizing the truck. Like, they learned. You get opportunities. Everyone rides a wave. Like, this is way before your time, but like, there's waves out there. I talked about the wave when I was on the stage. So I'm friends with Joe Christiani. You've probably never heard that name. Joe Christiani's Mobile Communications. You guys weren't born yet. So in 1995 I met Joe Christiani. It's when human beings did not have cell phones yet. And I had a brick phone because I was the director of the Cedric Dempsey Cancer Center run. And people thought it was the coolest thing, or I was a drug dealer, right? Because I had this brick phone. I'd be walking around U of A because the cancer center might call, or a sponsor might call, whatever. And so Joe was selling cell phones out of the back of his Suburban when some people didn't have cell phones. You just didn't have them. A U of A football player named Kashi DeBreezy took me to my first cell phone store to get me a cell phone, and it was a StarTAC flip phone. Oh, major deal, right? Joe rode a wave. Before you knew it, Joe had stores, Joe had kiosks in the mall, Joe made a ton of money. And then you watched the market change, and the big companies got into it, and the majority of the people got cell phones, and his wave ended, right? And then he ended up shutting down the kiosks, the stores started disappearing, he was no longer on TV with his mom, and he pivoted, he's an entrepreneur, he ended up owning H2O Joe Water. So he pivoted, right? But you all ride waves. I rode a wave with the dealership program with Allstate, selling all those policies. They don't do that anymore. They don't want that business. By the time I owned a car dealership, I sent zero business to my agency. The credit wasn't good enough. Allstate likes good credit individuals, right? But you all ride waves. When you ride a wave, what assets are you purchasing, right? The game's assets, right? Don't consider your house an asset. Obviously, it's really nice to pay off your mortgage, but where are you putting your money into play? So even like my son just graduated college, is making good money with Boston Scientific. We have a financial conversation probably weekly as he is strategically putting his dollars away. So if you graduate college and you have low expenses because you were a college kid, you keep your expenses low. Don't go get crazy with anything, because the income that you're going to receive from your new employer, you need to put as much of that income First of all, you match that 401k, you take your 100% match up to 3%, and then you take the rest of that money and you put it into an IRA, maxing out to the 7,000 that you can put in, and then you put the rest in a brokerage account, because compounding interest matters. So when my kids were little kids, and there's a kid in here right now. So when my kids were this age, and he would get birthday money, and it's amazing how much cash these relatives give, especially Latinos, man. We just give these kids cash. This kid would have I remember one birthday, this little kid opening up his card at the table with Nana, had $550 he got for his birthday. And so I went on a bike ride the next day, and I came home, and I'm in the kitchen, and I said, Diego, pause the TV. You got $550 yesterday. And he's like, yeah, Dad. Little kid with glasses. You got $550. If it's okay with you, I'm going to give you $50 to spend. You go buy a Lego, whatever you want to do, you buy Lego. I'm going to take the $500 and I'm going to put it into this account for you called an IRA. When you are 65 years old, that $500 is going to be $24,000. Are you cool with that? Yeah, Dad. Just keeps watching TV. So all this time throughout those years, my kids have started an IRA and they've been putting money away and compounding interest. When now we talk about money so much at dinner, if I stay quiet, which is hard for me to do, and these kids have a conversation, they're asking how their lives are, they love each other, and then they get into a money conversation. Who has more in their retirement account, in their savings account? And by the way, in my family, we call a savings account a portal account. We don't even call it a savings account, we call it a portal account. And it's a portal account because every human being should have a checking and savings. You should maintain a buffer in your checking to make sure you're safe and you're comfortable, right? And then you should have a savings account with the emergency money, just enough for the emergency money because you already have a buffer. And then that savings account should be porting money away from you into Charles Schwab, Fidelity, etc. And you should be putting money into a brokerage account, putting that money in play. And I do that. I play in a brokerage account, I put money away, and then every once in a while I get to certain levels. And then I've been, I won't say lucky enough, hell, I made a lot of great connections. I'm now investing in syndications. And we just invested in a Marriott. Would I ever think when I was a kid I'd invest in a Marriott hotel? No. Do I own a lot of it? No, I own a small piece of it. But I can drive by a Marriott in Scottsdale and go, I own part of that. Right? So there's different ways you can play.
So when I think of people our age, we don't think of success that way because we think of it as the Ferraris and the girl is you're the man.
Because you guys are on social media. It's all bull crap.
So you think the average person has a distorted view of what success actually looks like?
Your generation's screwed. You guys are so screwed. Your reality is so off. So I just got back from Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. And how many times did I see people with a selfie stick or their camera, etc., and they're just in the corner, right, showing a portion of their life that's not real, right? And then I see them when they turn the camera off and you get the realistic vision of what's actually happening. You guys are screwed. So I tell my kids all the time, I will give you an absolute advantage over your generation. I will teach you how to communicate, meaning you will text me back after I text you. You will call me back after I call you. If they're watching this, they hear this all the time. Your generation sucks at communicating because you'll send me an emoji or whatever. Communicate with me. Learn how to make a phone call and how to talk on the phone. My son was kind of wonky on the phone, so we hired him here for 2 months during the summer and put him on the phone. So he was so nervous. Oh my God, I got to talk to people, right? But yeah, if your generation learns how to save your money, don't go spend it for your social media world, and you learn how to talk on the phone, you'll be light years ahead of the other people you hang out with.
Well, we're going to wrap this up soon. Is there anything you want to leave for the audience to just take into action or implement right away?
I would say just be responsible for you, right? Be responsible for you. Have good, honest conversations with yourselves and hold yourselves accountable to how well you're doing. Don't fool yourself. Don't get on social media and pretend to be something you're more than than you really are. Find out what's important to you. I enjoy playing the money game. I enjoy it. Some people say I might focus on it too much. It's just a game. But gosh, the more I win at that game, the easier life is, right? Again, money doesn't bring you happiness. It just makes life easier. But then it's about the quality of life. In the end, all that will matter is my relationship with my family, specifically my wife, my kids first, and obviously my parents, my sister, etc. What matters are those relationships that you have to really take good care of. You learn that when you have everything taken from you, right? And then you have to go rebuild it. So I hope you guys go out and fail. I really do. I hope you fail. Because when you fail, you will learn. You can't learn from success.
Thank you.
I could sit here all day, man. I'm gonna have to watch this back a few times, but Edmund, yeah, thank you very much for being on, letting us come in here. This has been valuable.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Not many podcasts you sit next to Grogu. So this is pretty good, man.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you. I enjoyed it. We'll do it again.
Appreciate you.
Do it again.